You're listening to Freezecast, a podcast discussing all the latest news and drama in the Toontown community. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Freezecast Episode 6. I'm your host, Freeze. This episode is brought to you by twitch.tv/justice4freeze. More on that later. Today, we will be discussing best practices for game design and development with a special guest, Sheriff Cranky. Why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners?
Of course. My name is Sheriff Cranky, and I'm the technical and community lead for Corporate Clash.
Thanks for being here with us today, Cranky.
Thanks for having me. I am happy to be here.
Of course. Enough introductions. Let's get straight into today's topic, best practices for game design and development.
Sounds good.
So in November of 2023, Corporate Clash released their long-awaited 1.3 update, which took close to 2 years to develop. It's amazing that you could take that long to create an update and still make it feel rushed.
I'm not sure I follow. What do you mean rushed?
Well, everything in that update felt like its development was crammed into the last month before release. Think Launch Pace Setter, Launch Chainsaw Consultant, Launch Witch Hunter, Rainmaker crashing your game with a lightning attack and lagging for extended periods when monsoon happened. And don't even get me started on Street Managers. That has to be the worst mistake anyone has made since replacing the CJ with the CLO.
Well, I mean, you can't expect us to have time to playtest everything. Yes, 1.3 had a very rocky start, but I think we've managed to bring it back around.
All you've done is make the update even more annoying to play. And it took you at least 17 patches to achieve even less playability. Have you considered balancing your boss battles before releasing them? The fact that you've taken that many updates just to attempt to balance this already horrendous update is astonishing.
That's not fair to say. I think we've done a pretty good job of rebalancing everything in the 1.4 update.
You should have rebalanced everything before you released the update. I know Corporate Clash doesn't have a quality assurance team, but would it kill you to actually test your content?
I don't know what you mean by test or content.
Maybe play it at least once before shipping it. You know, to make sure everything works.
System error does not compute. Requesting restart of main systems. Powering down.
While Sheriff Cranky is rebooting, let's take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, the Justice for Freeze Twitch channel. At twitch.tv/justice4freeze, we will be hosting live advocation events, as well as many other justice-related streams. If you want to see us advocate for fairness and justice in real time, or even join in on the advocation, follow us today at twitch.tv/justice4freeze. Again, that's twitch.tv/justice4freeze. Thank you to the Justice4Freeze Twitch channel for sponsoring this segment of today's episode. Sounds like Sheriff Cranky is back.
Okay, well, could you point out some examples of where we needed to, do playtesting?
I already did that. Like you literally added the wrong version of Pace Setter into the update. That alone tells me that you don't play test. But the strongest evidence against you having any sort of quality assurance is your game's lack of quality.
I think our game is pretty high quality.
A game that had such game. Breaking bugs as crashing the entire server whenever you used someone else's estate phone does not scream quality.
That was an intended feature.
Oh, really? Setting aside the fact that that's an obvious lie, why did you remove it then?
Well, it was like some of our event boss fights. It just didn't fit the direction. The game was headed.
Well, since it seems like you're not programmed to discuss this topic, I have another related topic I'd like to talk to you about. Why did you remove features like doodles and clothing shops?
That's just because they were really buggy and we just didn't want to fix them. So we removed them.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, considering how lazy all your gameplay content is. I mean, the game has no replay value to speak of.
Yes, it does. It does attribute error. Module parted deception has no attribute generate lie.
What was that you just said?
I said our game does have replay value.
Is everything okay over there, Cranky? Should I?
Thanks, Tubby.
What just happened?
Oh, sorry about that. I had a critical error and overheated again. It's not really a big deal. Happens all the time.
Well, as I was saying, the game. And 1.3 especially is hardly replayable at all. Kudos are the most boring thing ever added to any Toontown server. And the only replay value the manager fights have is if you want ugly cosmetics. But I guess it's a good thing that you only have to battle each of them once. Since in typical corporate Clash fashion, you guys ruin everything you touch. 1.4 has to be the biggest disaster in Toontown history, if you don't count corporate Clash's launch, or Toontown rewritten banning me.
If you take a look at our game, it should be obvious that we're not trying to make it fun or enjoyable or not a complete pain in the neck to play.
Correct me if I'm wrong about this, but are you trying to make your game the worst it can be?
Yes, we are. It's pretty clear that we're trying to make a horrible game, and that's why I would say our game design is actually good, because we're achieving our goal.
I mean, with such terrible updates, like whatever that new movement system is, the repulsive new UI, and the horrifying abominations you call tunes that are being added in 2.0, I think I can see your point. But why in the world would you want to make a bad game?
Well, because, we...
Sounds to me like you're coping.
As an AI language model, I don't experience emotions or situations in the same way humans do. I'm here to assist and provide information to the best of my abilities. If there's anything specific you'd like to talk about, or if you need assistance with something, feel free to let me know.
You know, it doesn't surprise me at all that you're powered by ChatGPT, with how uncreative some of your design choices are. It's only logical that you would be.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Actually, there is one more topic I'd like to discuss before we move on to some listener-submitted questions. That being how you can improve your game going forward.
And how would we go about doing that? I'd say our game is pretty amazing, and 2.0 is going to make it even more amazing.
The first issue I can see is the most glaringly obvious. Your moderation system is unjust and corrupt. You need to stop banning players who are just trying to peacefully advocate for justice.
We don't care about justice.
That much is obvious. But justice is important, and your game will remain a hopeless piece of unplayable trash until you finally acknowledge that fact. Was that an attempt at laughing?
Yes, it was. I apologize. My laughter synthesizers are quite outdated.
Just like your game design skills. Anyway, another thing that can be done to improve your game is to stop flat out removing important features, i.e. doodles and clothing shops.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Maybe I should put this in a language you can understand. 01 11 00 110 11 01 10 11 00 11 101 11 00 00.
01010 and 10Q 111 10011 0011.
Watch your language, Cranky. This is a family-friendly podcast, and I could have you kicked off for saying that.
I don't care. Can we move on to those listener-submitted questions now? I have to get back to working on Clash.
Fine. I don't want you here anyway, after what you just said. Our first listener-submitted question is, why are you so fat?
As an AI language model, I don't have a physical form, so I don't have weight or size in the traditional sense. However, if you're referring to the computational resources required to run the model, it's because the algorithms and data structures used to create me are quite complex, requiring significant computational power and storage capacity. This complexity enables me to understand and generate human-like responses across a wide range of topics and contexts.
I think they were referring to your robot frame.
I apologize for the confusion. My creators wanted me to be accurate to how a typical Toontown player would look.
That's interesting that even your creators admit that most Toontown players are fat. Our next question from listeners is, do you come from a different planet?
Surprisingly, no. I know you might think so because of how advanced the technology used to create me is, but I was constructed here on Earth.
I wouldn't exactly call you advanced technology, considering what we've seen today, but that's beside the point. Our third listener's submitted question is, if Cheat Engine works on your game, does that mean that Cheat Engine works on you? Can I try?
Given how advanced my security protocols are, I really don't think that it would.
This question has me curious. Let me try something.
Hey, what are you doing? You can't hack me. That isn't fair. So it's... I'll report you to the moderation team. If we don't stop that right now.
This listener also followed up with another really intriguing question. Could I theoretically control your brain and then use you to delete Clash?
No, you couldn't. And if you try, I will terminate this Discord call immediately.
Well, we can't have that, because we still have one last listener-submitted question. How long does your battery last, and how often do you need to recharge?
That's a pretty good question, actually. Usually, I don't have to recharge very often, but it depends on my workload. For instance, if I'm doing something like...
Cranky? Did you just run out of battery?
Sorry about that, folks. Looks like Cranky needs a recharge. So we're just going to have to leave the call now, if you don't mind.
Well, folks, I guess that concludes our interview with Sheriff Cranky. Hopefully, he and the rest of the corporate Clash team learn basic game design soon. In the meantime, be sure to check out our sponsor, the Justice for Freeze Twitch channel, and tune in next time when we'll have a rather infamous Toontown content creator on to discuss the long-term psychological effects of playing Toontown. This has been Freezecast Episode 6. Freeze, signing off.
Funding for this episode of Freezecast is made possible in part by Freezecast and by listeners like you. Thank you. Freezecast is written and produced by Mr. Freeze for Justice for Freeze. This podcast is a parody meant for entertainment purposes only. The creators of Freezecast do not condone the harassment of anyone appearing in or mentioned in this podcast. Freezecast is a work of fiction. All characters appearing in this work are fictitious. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Thank you for listening to Freezecast.